In this video, I'm going to talk about growing sweet peas and, some of my tried and tested methods, some of my failures. But in this video in particular, I'm going to reveal how I did them this year. And I'm really pleased with how successful they have been. Now, I've grown them in situ, where they are to flower, right next to their teepees, and they have been growing all through the frost and the snow, and they are going great guns. So this means that not only have I not been cluttering up my indoor growing spaces with lots and lots and lots of pots, because I always want to grow so many sweet peas, it literally takes it over my house and my garage, but I haven't had to do that this year. But not only that, I'm going to avoid all the root disturbance that sets sweet peas sometimes back a month. When you transplant them, they go into shock and they will sulk for a good 3 to 4 weeks before they start growing. Now, if you have a very short growing season, if your summers are much shorter, then this is really great information, because you will avoid that whole kind of loss of 3 to 4 weeks growing while your sweet peas adjust, because they're growing in situ. So here's how I did it. So sweet peas like to flower they love the summer. Obviously, they love the early, cooler but lovely warm sunshine. That in England, that probably is sort of June. And July starts to get really hot for sweet peas, and of course then they start to go over. So, but they do not mind the cooler periods of winter at all. So on that note, I have gone through the process. I remember buying my first lot of sweet peas already started from the local DIY store, which has a sort of garden centre area. And I put them out and obviously disturbed all the roots, because I didn't know anything about how sensitive sweet peas were. And I lobbed them in, made some bamboo teepees, and they grew fine. What I didn't realise was that when you disturb the roots, you don't actually kill them. What happens is they just stunt. So they will just sort of get in a sulk, and they won't take off for 2 to 3 weeks or so. They need that time to recover and bed in before they'll start growing happily again. Now, of course, if you have a short period for growing sweet peas, if your summer is shorter, and that period between your sort of cooler spring and summer to the height of really blazing hot summer is much shorter than ours, then that 3 weeks is crucial for you to get right and to avoid. It's not here in the UK. We still have enough time for the sweet peas to recover. Right, so let's just get down to it. In my other videos, I've done them straight out from the garden centre. I bought them already started, bung them straight out, disturbed the roots, they get in a sulk. I also did that last year. All my sweet peas got in a sulk. I did them all in the garage in these separate pots, hoping to minimise the root disturbance. It didn't make any difference. They were still got in a sulk, and they didn't grow for a further sort of 3 weeks, at least I would say, before they began to take off and bush up. Now, interestingly, these didn't do as well. I think I spread them out. It's not that they didn't do as well. I had fewer clumped together because I wanted more around the garden. So the impact wasn't as dramatic as when I just planted them all in 2 or 3 pots and they grew wildly, and it was just beautiful and lush. So I want to recreate that, really. Now, this year, I just thought, I just don't have the space for all these sweet peas. They obviously don't like the transplanting anyway, so I'm just going to grow them where they are to flower. So this is going to really help you if you have a shorter summer and you need them to flower before that really hot mid part of your summer, when sweet peas will not like that at all. Right, so you need to put them straight out into your garden. Now, I noticed mine were already self-seeding and growing from the mother plants in my autumn. Now, I didn't save any of those because I needed to turn over the beds, but it made me think, wow, so they can grow the other side of summer too. they can start to grow in autumn. So I thought, okay, well, what can I do then to speed up and streamline the growing process? Well, I'm going to grow them where they obviously are happy to germinate, which is where they've already been growing. So I plonked a few seeds down and I did a little trial. This was before Christmas. So in the UK, obviously, like many of you in many parts of the world, in the Northern Hemisphere, you will find that obviously pre-Christmas and the Christmas period and just post-Christmas is our coldest part, when we get all the frosts, and if we get any snow, that's when we'll get it. So what I did was, to know where the seeds were, I used the bottles, but I cut the bottoms off and used them as a cloche. And so that went over the top of the sweet peas, and I just did one bunch because I didn't want to find that if we had a really harsh winter with lots of snow, I was, that once their leaves were showing, that all that frost and snow was just going to kill them, and I would have wasted all my sweet peas if I'd done the whole garden. So what I did was I just did one batch and put a cloche over, and honestly, they have grown like the clappers through ice and snow. And the snow obviously keeps off the leaves when they're in the bottle, which is good. I doubt that they wouldn't have felt the effects of frosts because it's only a bottle, it's not heated. But obviously they will get that warmer sunshine as well when it is warm. So any frost would be burned off quite quickly. I don't really know the science of it, but I know they have done really well. Now, because I've been so obsessive about filming my sweet peas, I have this footage here from the 19th of March 2022. These were the ones that were grown and mollycoddled in my garage, so they were protected from all the worst of the elements and everything. This is the 19th of March 2022. Now look at the ones that I grew in situ in the bottles on the 19th. This is filmed also on the 19th of March, but this is now 2023 where they're grown in situ. Now, as you can see there in the bottle on the right there, that I'm just touching now, they are so much lusher and more healthy. So I think there has to be something to be said for growing sweet peas this way. It certainly seems to have been more successful for me. And the bottles not only actually helped me to keep the worst of the elements off the sweet peas, it also just reminded me that they were there, and it meant that I could, I knew exactly where I planted those seeds so that I could keep eyeballing them throughout the season, which I did. I was almost obsessive about checking them almost every day. And I have been really delighted. I've eyeballed them through the ice and the snow, and look, they have arrived this side of the winter. So they've been through all the winter under these bottles, and here they are ready to remove these bottles, really, and that no root disturbance has occurred. And furthermore, I haven't clogged up the indoor of my growing spaces indoors, so that I can concentrate on growing other plants. So this was planted before Christmas. It's seen lots of frost and snow, and this is me revealing it for this video. This is where the TP was last year for my other sweet peas. So let's see how they look. I really don't want to disturb those roots, so I'm having to be really careful. And there they are. So my only issue with them is that I think they haven't had enough water. And I'm going to top dress these there's a couple of weeds growing there as well. I'm going to top dress these with some more fresh compost from my own compost heap, which I know is full of nutrients, because I think by now they need a good feed. And I'm going to use this string that held the bottle in place to just tie them so they know which way to grow. And then I did another TP later on in the year, which was after Christmas. Not these are still the same ones. And they're obviously a bit behind, but they've also done really well. And one of those, the bottle flew off, so it's had no protection at all, and they're still doing fine. So that's these ones here. So you can see they're a bit smaller. And by the way, if you see any empty bottles, that's because I'm growing something else. That's not because I have sweet peas that failed. I'm growing other things, and I just want them to have a bit more protection. I'm absolutely loving this cloche method, especially for me with dogs digging everything up. It's absolutely a brilliant solution for me. Next batch were planted, as you can see, in an old laundry, an old laundry basket, which I've been using for years to grow my sweet peas in until it rots, basically. And they were sown just after Christmas, so still in the very cold. But look at that. Look how beautiful they are, because they had really nice fresh compost as well topped up. So the whole pot is just really well fertilized. And I don't know, they have just really liked it, obviously, in this pot. So these are really just going to take off. I'm hoping, that there wasn't any root disturbance when I removed these bottles. And they look how healthy they are. It's not even April yet, and they look absolutely great. I'm really happy with these. So pleased with this container here that I decided to unveil them all on video. This one was sown, this one next to it was sown after, so again a little bit behind those ones. So it's great because it means I have like a succession. They're all at different stages, and it just meant also, if your weekends are precious and you want lots of sweet peas, you don't have to sow them all in one weekend. It literally takes a few minutes to sow them in batches as and when you've got time, and before you know it, you're in spring and you've got sweet peas growing everywhere. So I'm really hoping I'm going to have a really voluptuous show of sweet peas right across my garden, throughout through the sweet pea season. I mean, not throughout the summer, because they won't last, they will dry off. But this one in particular, as I say, has done really well. So once I could see that these seedlings had survived some frost bouts and some snow, I knew that this was a method that could work for all my sweet peas. So I then succession sowed them I've been sowing them from before Christmas right through to now. And obviously the ones I've sown in the last couple of weeks, I haven't even bothered with a cloche because I know it's now warm enough for them. And also, it has protected them from mice and any sort of slugs and things like that, any bugs you might have. And it's actually so far working a dream. So I have some other bottles to remove where they were succession sowed. I'm probably just going to leave those for now, just because we did have some snow at the beginning of April last year. So I'm going to leave those. But as you can see, these are just absolutely going to fly. So I've got sweet peas at various stages, all sown in situ. So there's going to be no root disturbance at all. And I think they're looking like they're going to be a great success. So I wanted to share that with you. I did overcomplicate it last year with all these pots and things everywhere. I knew I just didn't have the room to grow any other flowers that way either. This way I clear out a whole load of growing. It just goes straight into the garden. And I'm probably going to next year do them all before Christmas with cloches. And then I'm going to do a second round the other side of Christmas, so that I will have a second flush of sweet peas later, just after the first flush have gone and I've picked them and everything like that. So I think this is a much better way of growing sweet peas. I definitely overcomplicated it the last couple of years. This has just been an absolutely overwhelming success. There's going to be no transplant shock, hopefully. And if you're one of those people that has that shorter summer, where you really need your sweet peas to just hit the ground running, and certainly not lose 3 to 4 weeks growing through to transplant because of transplant shock, then this method is just going to be ideal for you. And you can wait till the worst of your winter. I know those of you more northern than I am will have harsher winters, so you can still sow the other side of Christmas when you're only going to get like mild frosts and maybe a light snow. Then you can sow then, and you will still have time for your sweet peas to flower before the real height of summer hits them hard. All right, I hope you found that video really helpful. If you did, please subscribe, like, click the notification bell. In my next video, my next couple of videos are going to be about ranunculus. I must get my ranunculus planted out, and I'm going to do my winter sowing reveal of all the seeds that I've done outside in the bottles so far this year. All right, thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.